Peter Gabriel and his second solo album, Scratch, right now on States and Kingdoms. Welcome back to States and Kingdoms. Today we're talking about Peter Gabriel's second solo album, also known as Scratch, but actually known as Peter Gabriel.
No, I didn't know this album. You didn't know this album before we decided to do a review of it. And if we were very smart, we probably would have done a reaction video. But I saved my reactions for a separate video where you can see all of my reactions to anything. All of my reactions. So it's I'll put that video out sometime.
A lot of dumb show.
Mm-hmm. We very seldom do a video like that. I didn't know this at all.
I had never listened to this. There's none of those like big hit songs that were played on classic rock radio on this album. So yeah, I really didn't know it, and being the giant Genesis fan that I am, they were this album was sort of always on the list of something that I should probably listen to.
And then exploit.
Although, yeah, exactly. And then monetize. Sorry, I know. You and I, growing up when we did, were pretty familiar with and the big songs from that, of course, Sledgehammer and Big Time, and Red Rain and In Your Eyes. I don't want to say anything, but it's not, my favorite thing.
You've said too much.
I'll always adore, beyond adore, Peter Gabriel and in Genesis. And I mean, I think everyone knows Lamb Lies Out on Broadway is one of my very, very favorite albums.
Yes, we did a 2-part video about that.
Sure did.
Don't look for it.
No, it was a good one.
No, it was all right. I think I looked really good in it.
You looked amazing.
I had profile shots.
I love Genesis. I love Peter Gabriel. That being said, I'm saying nothing. And I like this album a lot.
Okay.
Two thumbs up. Keep them up.
Like you said, we grew up with in fact, when I was a kid, Phil Collins wasn't the ubiquitous one. It was Peter Gabriel. I couldn't get away from those songs, and to be honest, I mean, it's not I didn't dislike them, but it colored my listening to Peter Gabriel for quite some time, because it was everywhere. And I mean, it's probably one of the earliest videos that I saw was Sledgehammer. Yeah. So, that album was just huge and kind of formative, whether I wanted it to be or not.
That's why it became a stop-motion animator.
I thought you were going to say like a chicken.
That's why I danced like a chicken.
That's why I became a dancing chicken.
That's why I put fruit on my face.
Okay.
That's why the train goes through my head. That's all I got.
Thank goodness for that.
The Big Time video is also good.
Yeah. No, but so I never, you were the huge Genesis fan, as you said. You're a huge Genesis fan.
I'm enormous.
Extremely rotund Genesis fan. And, I wasn't, until way after you were. And as far as Phil Collins was concerned, who I'm just going to drag into this because everyone always wants to drag him into it anyway. Just to get in here. I didn't listen to Phil Collins solo stuff either. We talked about that when we did
in passing.
Except for Tarzan, which is the greatest thing ever written. Right. So I did listen to some Peter Gabriel solo stuff. Have listened, but not this at all. And his 2 first albums are really interesting because they definitely, of course, they're much closer to Genesis, but they're really kind of writhing. Like they're quite eclectic. He's turning to this, turning to that. You have like on this one it is different from the first album. You don't have the like Randy Newman. Paul Simon.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say the first album is very, very heavy on his influences, it seems like the next logical step for him coming out of Genesis, because it does have a little bit more of that like Genesis-y
orchestration, like some of the
instrumentally and stuff. So it makes more sense. And
It
those those influences,
the whimsy of his Genesis kind of, output.
And then this album is very different.
I said whimsy.
This album, not that it's heavier exactly.
It's definitely far more guitar oriented, which is not something that he does.
It's because it's got the Fripp.
Yeah.
He got the Fripp. There's some songs on this album that I really, really like. Most of them I really, really like, actually.
On this one, with a little bit more guitar, the first song, instead of sounding, like a Genesis song or anything like that,
synthy.
it actually sounds quite Who-ish.
Yeah, it's a Who song. Not like it's like derivative. I'm not saying that, but it is very. I mean, we both were like, oh,
it sounds
so Quadrophenia,
Quadrophenia-ish. I've read about his admiration for Pete Townshend's songwriting for The Who, but you never really hear it in Genesis. Not really.
Aside from, the story and the scope of Lamb on Broadway kind of being like a Tommy-esque sort of thing.
Right, but I don't hear it.
You don't hear it. You hear the Roger Daltrey.
There is. And I never thought that before even.
If you take Roger Daltrey's singing style and his phrasing, but then you add like Peter Gabriel's like husky kind of yodely thing.
They both have that kind of huskiness to their voices. Do. And
similar enough, yeah.
And this is really like the last time you're going to hear it from Peter Gabriel. But it's interesting that it pops up on this album.
Yeah.
So, and In the Air, you get
DIY,
that. A little bit. I don't know. I don't know if I'd say on DIY. I would say it comes up a little on the, from time to time in the rest of the album. But it's, compared to Moribund the Burgermeister, you can't have like a different opening song.
Yeah.
But then it shifts gears pretty, and that is something this album does. And
it's very eclectic,
both of them, and
truly.
I really do enjoy that. It's why I love, Ween, and I like albums that don't have one like mood or one flavor.
Because it really feels like he was really just doing whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
He was like, well, I feel like singing a song like this, so we're gonna do this. DIY might be the catchiest song. I feel like DIY gets stuck in my head a lot.
Yeah, it's very easy to bring
really
back.
Catchy. Yeah.
I like it a lot. This album took not very long, but took a little while to sink in.
There was a couple of songs, so Mother of Violence was one song that I really dismissed the first time I listened to it. I was like, yeah, that's a skipper.
That's
a skipper. And then I forced myself because I don't do that. Of course I listened.
See, I thought it was a Gilligan.
I actually really came to like that song a lot. I had to really take it in. It's actually got some really nice, like, nuanced parts of the melody that, it took a few listens for me to really pick out, but it's actually a very nice song.
There is a thread through his entire career, from early Genesis, obviously, of what you could call, folk.
Sure.
That just continues to, come out. And it does evolve, though. So this, I don't know why. Yeah, at first, I think I dismissed it as just like a piano ballad, and I'm not always. It depends on, I don't know, my mood, and
You were in a bad mood that day.
Yeah, I was in a bad mood. I was like, turn that off. No, I didn't. But I kind of dismissed it too. And then the more I listened to it, the more it revealed itself as a very very deep track. There's a lot in the melody that is just.
It reads as simple at first, but it's actually there's more depth to it for sure.
I always like it, with any kind of. You say any kind of folkish melody, it's important, and I don't mean like folk music exactly, but anything that is really, it could be like an Irving Berlin song, that it sort of derives a lot from some folk tradition, I feel like they're the songs that even though they're newly written, the melody seems to have always somehow existed, you know what I mean, and that I do feel that for Irving Berlin, as a matter of fact, And to me, this melody has something of that quality. And there's something very intriguing just about the sound. Yeah. Yeah. So that was definitely, that took a few listens. DIY did not take a few listens.
No.
Sure. His albums became quite heavy. I don't mean that musically. I mean subject matter, and
they were hard to lift.
they.
No, he got.
Yes, that's what I mean. They became very heavy.
I think most people know that
his albums really put on weight over the years.
He got fat. Most people know that he got a little more political, more so-called inspired by world music, and I always read that he got into world music and he started playing with more.
I don't know with the
world, world artists, and
I was gonna say on this album, there's still a little bit. The first album is definitely more whimsical. This one's a bit more whimsical, I think. But there's still some of that there, and this kind of.
He lost his sense of humor.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's like reggae-ish or calypso-ish or anything, but it's definitely got something of a Caribbean. It's definitely got a kind of Caribbean rhythm. A Wonderful Day in a One-Way World.
Yeah, it's like me and Julio down by the schoolyard.
No, that's not possible.
I know.
Oh, wait, is it?
Wait a minute.
Yes, it is. It is possible.
Okay. Hot dog. No, yeah, it's got a little bit of that. Well, it's funny because the song has a little bit of that, but then the chorus is a little more Genesisy. Because it's got like the
Genesisy, yes.
Genesian. It's a good song. I like it.
Well, I like it. It's a catchy song.
The song that grabbed me immediately on this album, and is definitely my favorite track, is White Shadow.
Yes.
I think that song is just gorgeous, and I love it, and I'll love it forever. Well,
it's interesting. When we do these things, and these videos, so-called, and listen to the album as many times, at least once, and then I'll look online and see like maybe what people think about it, because I don't really know.
Yeah,
and sometimes I'm surprised, and my surprised faces from that will be in another video.
Stay tuned.
But sometimes I'm surprised by what people think. But about this album, one thing stuck out was that pretty much everyone liked the same songs.
Yeah.
They really there was no one thought like any of the songs were bad, but their favorite songs were almost all the same ones. And White Shadow is definitely in there.
It's got such an awesome guitar part, and basically it takes up like the whole outro of the song. The song just floats off, and I just think it's beautiful.
I think one criticism or suggestion, which I don't think it'll take because it's from '78. You
want to go back and fix it?
I think the last two songs, I think I would delete that. I think
Perspective and
Home Sweet Home. Yeah, I think it could have ended before those two songs. They're not bad songs.
Perspective has something. It's a little.
Well, that's like your point of view. But after Exposure, and that's an interesting song, and then like Flotsam and Jetsam is almost, it feels almost like an a cappella. I feel like the album could have ended there, very strong. Perspective seems like it's not bad, and it's actually kind of catchy, but it's kind of the most typical 70s rock song maybe on the album. And Home Sweet Home is just, it's a happy ballad, and I appreciate it being there. It's kind of a downer.
Maybe if the penultimate song was a little stronger or more interesting, than like Home Sweet Home as your final song is kind of like a nice sort of rest.
Yeah, I'm mostly picking on Perspective.
Yeah, I don't really find most of this album experimental in any way. But Exposure feels like the edgiest of the whole album to me.
Yeah.
It's where I feel like he's, pushing a little bit, maybe
Robert
doing
Fripp
something a little bit different. Yeah.
The first four Peter Gabriel albums, are very interesting. And of course, he's one of the most interesting musicians. That's not debatable. But you know, I really enjoy the first two.
I still would say, for me, and this is just my opinion, that my favorite work of his would be with Genesis.
Oh no, I would agree. Yeah.
I think his best work was there.
But he, you know, what he accomplished after Genesis is I mean, he's really the Dave Mustaine of you know, prog rock.
It's true.
No, it's a totally different thing.
Thank you so much for watching our brief discussion of Peter Gabriel's second solo album. Please let us know what you think of this album in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.